Hi, I'm Matt, and we're here at Simple Citizen headquarters, and I'm going to help you fill out your form I-485. It's pretty complex, so we've created this guide to walk you through the whole process. You can fill out the form I-485 one of three ways. First, you can download the PDF from the USCIS.gov website and fill it out on your computer. Second, you can print out the PDF and fill it out by hand. If you choose to do this, make sure it's legible and make sure to use black ink. And third, you can use simplecitizen.com. With our self-service software, you can create an account, answer a few simple questions, and be done in about 20 minutes. Part 1. Question 1A through 1C. This section is just asking for your legal name. Make sure you include your current full legal name. If you have two last names, you should include both of those. 2A through 4C. This section is asking for any other names that you've used in your life. This could include your maiden name, a name with a previous spouse, a family name at birth, any nicknames, or any aliases or assumed names. Question 5. This is just your date of birth. Question 6. Here is where you choose your sex. Question 7. This is your city or town of birth, and no need to include your address. Next page. Question 8. This is your country of birth. Question 9. This is your country of citizenship or nationality. Question 10. This is your alien registration number, if you have one, and if you do, you can find it on your work authorization card, also known as the EAD card. Question 11. This is your USCIS online registration number. If you've created an account on USCIS.gov, you'll have this number. Question 12. This is your U.S. Social Security number, if you have one. 13A through 13E. This is your current U.S. mailing address. If someone else is receiving your mail for you, be sure to include their name in question 13A. Questions 14A through 14E. This section is for a safe address. Basically, you'll use this section if you don't want the USCIS to send notices to your home. It's mostly for immigrants applying under Violence Against Women's Act, Special Immigrant Juvenile, Human Trafficking Victim, or a victim of a qualifying crime. Questions 15 through 19. You'll answer these questions if you came into the U.S. with a passport or a travel document. Question 15. This is just your passport number. Question 16. If you used a travel document other than a passport, include its number here. Question 17. This is where you'll put your expiration date for your passport or your travel document. Question 18. Here is where you'll put the country that last issued your passport or your travel document. Question 19. If you have a non-immigrant visa number from your passport, then you'll put it right here. Questions 20A through 20B. This is the city or town where you last came into the U.S. If you flew into the country, it will be the city with the airport where you went through U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Question 21. This is just the date when you last arrived to the United States. Questions 22A through 22D. Here you will check if you were inspected by a U.S. immigration officer. Being inspected basically just means that the officer looked at your passport and stamped it when you arrived. If you don't remember any of this information, you can access most of it on your most recent I-94, which you can find on the Department of Homeland Security's website. Question 23A. Here you'll just put your I-94 number. Question 23B. In this section, you'll put your admit until date, which you'll find on your I-94. Keep in mind, this is almost always different from the expiration date of your U.S. visa, so make sure to put the I-94 date. 23C. Here you'll put the status that's indicated on your I-94. Next page, 24. If your immigration status has changed since you arrived to the U.S., this is where you'll include your most current immigration status. 25A through 25C. This is where you'll put your name exactly as it appears on your I-94. Part 2. Application type of filing category. 1A through 1G. Here's a list of different categories of eligibility. Just select the one that applies to you. Question 2. This most likely doesn't apply to you. It's basically from the Immigrant and Nationality Act, Section 245I. It's an old law that applies only to a select group of people who came into the U.S. without permission. To find out if it does not apply to you, go to uscis.gov. Next page, question 3. If you have an approved petition, you should include its receipt number here. A petition could be an I-130, an I-140, an I-360, an I-526, or an I-918. The receipt number will be included on the I-797 approval notice that the USCIS mailed to your home. If you're filing concurrently, which basically means filing the petition as the same time you file the I-485, like in a marriage-based green card, question 3 and 4 will not apply to you. You can leave those blank. Question 4. If you have an approved petition, you should include its priority date here. Questions 5 through 9. This section only applies to a derivative applicant. A derivative applicant is an immigrant who didn't need a separate petition, but rather depends on the petition of a principal applicant. This would most likely be a parent or a spouse. In these sections, you will include the information of the principal applicant. Part 3. Additional information about you. Questions 1 through 4. If you have ever applied for an immigrant visa, which is basically a green card, at a U.S. embassy or consulate, you'll fill out this section. In question 3, you'll put either approved, denied, refused, or withdrawn. Don't worry about explaining why the decision was made. That's not necessary. Questions 5 through 7. Here you'll provide your physical address history for the past 5 years. Provide your current address first, and if you've had more than 2 addresses, you can provide additional information in Part 14, Additional Information. This information is provided so the USCIS can perform a background check, so just make sure it's accurate. Next page, questions 9A through 10B. Here you should provide your most recent address outside of the U.S. where you lived for more than 1 year. However, if you've provided it above, don't worry about putting it here. Questions 11 through 18B. This is also for a USCIS background check. You should provide your 5-year employment history. Again, make sure it's as accurate as possible. If you have additional info which doesn't fit here, then provide it in Part 14. If you haven't been working, then just enter none or NA. Next page, questions 19 through 22B. Here you should provide your most recent employment outside of the U.S. And it doesn't matter if it was less or more than a year. But don't worry about providing it if you've already provided it in questions 11 through 18. Part 4. Questions 1A through 16. Part 4 just asks background information about your parents. If they've passed away, you should answer deceased on questions 7, 8, 15, and 16. Next page, Part 5. Questions 1 through 16C. Part 5 gathers information about your marital history. This section is particularly important for applicants who are immigrating through marriage. The USCIS basically just wants to verify that you're really eligible. You should provide additional information about previous spouses, if you run out of space, in Part 14. Next page, Part 6. Questions 1 through 16. Part 6 is where you provide basic information about your children. You should include both adult children and stepchildren here. Part 7. Question 1. In this section, you'll add your biographical information so the USCIS can confirm your identity. In question 2, just put your race. Next page, questions 3 through 6. For the remaining questions, you will put your height, weight, eye color, and hair color. Part 8, questions 1 through 13B. In this section, you're just going to include any organizations, associations, funds, foundations, parties, clubs, societies, or any other group in which you've been involved. Next page, questions 14 through 80B. Most of the answers here should be no. However, if you have some questions with the answer yes, then make sure to explain it in Part 14, Additional Information. Make sure to disclose any arrests. Even if it was a mistake or for a minor crime, you should include it. You don't have to include driving tickets unless drugs or alcohol were involved, or if you were fined over $500. If you have any arrests, make sure to attach the documentation with your Form I-485. If you've received public assistance, you could be found inadmissible. If this is your situation, you should consult with an attorney before mailing in your Form I-485. Part 9. Part 9 asks if you have any disabilities or impairments that need accommodations for your interview. Next page. Part 10. Congrats, you're about done. Here's where you're going to sign the Form I-485, and you'll also need to check that you read and understand English, so the USCIS knows you understand what you're signing. Part 11. If you don't speak English and you've relied on an interpreter or a translator to fill out your Form I-485, this is where he or she will sign. Don't worry though, you don't need to know English to get a green card, but you will need your interpreter to accompany you at your USCIS interview. Part 12. This is where an attorney would include their credentials if you've hired an attorney to help you. Part 13. This is the section where you'll sign at your USCIS interview. Until then, just leave it blank. Congratulations, you finished the whole Form I-485. If you need any help filling out the I-485 or need help applying for your green card, go to simplecitizen.com.